This is the Greedy Curtis podcast. My name is Mental Supreme, also known to the world as Gajuar Siafu, also known as Joey Silverback, aka the Old King, aka John Coffee, like the drink, only not spelled the same. We got a limited amount of time. Let's get into it. Now, nobody has an idea as to why the world is in shambles in this day and time. Nobody has an inkling of an idea as to why society is struggling right now. Well, let's talk about it. Police brutality. Police brutality has been here for years. Spread of diseases, vaccines, homosexuality, hypersexuality. Now, let me just stop right there. I don't give a fuck if you're homosexual. I don't give a rat's ass or a flying fuck if you're hypersexual. I just don't care. Those are not original ideas. Those ideas have been here for a very long time in America. I don't give a shit about that. Now, there's agendas attached to those behaviors and ideas. We're going to talk about that. Back in the day, there was Planned Parenthood. There was an influx of drugs and alcohol in the community. There was the welfare system. There was the miseducational school system. There was self-hate going on. There was poor nutrition. There's all these different factors going on back in the day. But one thing is true. What was happening back in the day is still happening. Actually, it's magnified 1,000 times in this day and time. And that one thing, that one common denominator is depopulation. Depopulation. Now, there's a good book out called Death of the West by Patrick Buchanan. I bought it here today. And in that book, they're not talking about death of the West Coast. Patrick Buchanan is talking about death of the Western Hemisphere. A lot of good information here. But right away in chapter 1, it says endangered species. You know what? Let me read a few excerpts. Endangered species. First paragraph says, as a growing population has long been a mark of healthy nations and rising civilizations, falling populations have been a sign of nations and civilizations in decline. He goes on to say, if that holds true, Western civilization, power, and wealth aside, is in critical condition. For, like the Cheshire cat, the people of the West have begun to fade away. Now, this excerpt is pretty important because it tells me what's happening in this day and time. The powers that be, the powers that have been in control of planet Earth for so long are panicking. They are in fear because there's a shift happening. Something's happening. What's that shift all about? It's all about a steadily falling birth rate. Steadily falling birth rate. Listen, America, Europe, point blank, they are not reproducing. They are not reproducing fast enough to keep up with what's happening with the influx of different people coming into this country. Now, second paragraph goes on to say, as late as 1960, European people, including Americans, Australians, and Canadians, numbered 750 million. 750 million, which is 1/4 of 3 billion people alive. At the time of the writing, 3 billion people on planet Earth. What does that mean? Again, there's been a fall in birth rates. They're just not producing enough to cover themselves. Old people are dying and young people are not having babies to replace those old people. Goes on to say, while world population has doubled to 6 billion in 40 years, of course, now we're talking about in 1960, while world population has doubled to 6 billion in 40 years, the European peoples had stopped reproducing. Their populations had begun to stagnate, and in many countries had already begun to fall. He goes on to say, the prognosis is grim. Between the year 2000 and 2050, world population will grow by more than 3 billion to over 9 billion people. But this 50% increase in global population will come entirely in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, as 100 million people of European stock vanish from the face of the earth. Vanish from the face of the earth. Now, this is alarming information. So you can see where the powers that be are frightened that the shift in power is about to come to fruition. This is the greatest fear of those in power, that they will be held powerless because of the overpopulation of the planet Earth with black and brown people, as well as Asians. It's a good website called Diego, I think I'm saying it right, Diego.com. Now, Diego.com predicts that by the year 2025, I believe, that there will be 69 million people, only 69 million people in America. How in the fuck could they make that type of prediction 5, 10, 15 years in advance? How in the hell can they say that there's only going to be 69 million people left in America? Because this is a plan. They have a plan with all of this spread of diseases, with all of this police brutality, with all of this homosexuality activity and this hypersexual. Listen, again, I don't give a fuck if you're homosexual. I don't give a fuck if you're hypersexual. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I don't give a fuck about white supremacy. I don't give a fuck about any of that. But understand this. This is a plan and this is an agenda. So you have to know why this is happening. This is happening for one reason: to lower that population here in the Western Hemisphere, because those numbers, due to the fact that they're not reproducing babies, they're going to be outnumbered very, very, very soon. So they want to bring the rest of the population of the world down so that they can still be in power. Understand what's happening. Pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to your surroundings. Be aware. As they say, stay woke. Because a lot is happening right under your fucking noses. You have no clue. So many booby traps, so many obstacles, so many traps lay in front of you within the next 5 to 10 years. And according to Diego.com, they already know that there's only going to be 69 or 68 million, and I'm not even talking about billion, 68 million people in America. They know that to a T, so much that they've already predicted a lower amount of money in defense that they're going to be spending on the defense of the U.S. So knowing everything that's about to take place, knowing what's happening right now, you have to plan accordingly. Pay attention to what's happening. And the big thing is know why these things are happening. All right? Stay healthy, stay sober, stay strong.